Literally no one has asked how I designed the logo for my business, but I thought I'd make a tutorial anyway. In my past life as an engineer, I've used SolidWorks, Inventor and Solid Edge, which all have their pros and cons, but for now, Autodesk Fusion 360 is my CAD weapon of choice. I've used Fusion's text feature to great effect on jobs for both clients and myself, but I feel as though not many people know about the possibilities it opens up. I went through quite a few iterations before settling on a final design, but I'm happy with the result. So if you're keen to learn Fusion's text feature, or you're after some inspiration for your own logo, stick around. If you are planning to follow along with the tute though, you'll need to download and install the Open Sans font set before you open Fusion. Link is in the description. Let's get into it then. In a new document, save it as whatever you want to call it. Click on Create Sketch and then on the front plane. Using the front plane is important if you want to render the logo later using an environment image, which I'll show you how to do. Press Alpha Line and drag it out horizontally, then type 100 to make it 100 mils long. I'm using millimeters here, but if you're using inches, you'll get the same result. Click on the new line, then go up to Create and then Text. If the letter looks mirrored or upside down, use the placement and flip controls to change its orientation. In the text box, type a capital L and choose Open Sans Extra Bold from the list of fonts. Make it italic and change the height to 25 millimeters. Text in a sketch like this can't be referenced for dimensions, so we'll need to make multiple extrudes to finish off the rest of the logo text. If everything's looking good, press OK to confirm. Now press E to extrude and click on the L, set your thickness to 3 millimeters and confirm. Now create another sketch on the front plane. Press L for line and draw another line 88 millimeters long, somewhere near the tip of the L as shown. Make sure it has a horizontal constraint. Press P to project, then click this corner node of the L, then OK. Press D to dimension, then select the node on the L and the end of the line and drag it straight up. Make it 1.5 millimeters. Dimension the same points vertically, also at 1.5 mil. Now press Escape to exit the dimensioning tool. Select your line, then go to Create and then Text. Type Annex in the text box, then change the height to 20. Make sure the font hasn't changed from Open Sans Extra Bold and then check the Fit to Path box. If everything looks right, click OK. Select the new text and press E to extrude. Instead of typing a value, we can instead choose Extent Type and To Object. Hold Shift and drag your middle mouse button to pan around the model, then select the front face of the L. Confirm the extrude. Highlight the front face of the L and create a new sketch. Press P to project, then select the 6 edges shown and confirm. Draw lines like so, and be careful not to add any constraints as you go, except for the horizontal lines. Click the check mark to complete a line in space. Go to Create, then to the Arc submenu and select the Tangent Arc tool. Draw a tangent arc from this line to the tip of the X and from this line to the X as shown. Go up to Constraints and select the Tangent tool. Make the tangent arcs you just laid down also tangent to the edges of the X. Go back up to Constraints and select the Collinear tool. Select the pairs of lines as shown to make them in line with each other. Lastly, for this sketch, press D to dimension and select the top of the A and the top line of this quadrilateral. Make it 3mm. Now press E to extrude and select the 4 profiles. Then make the end type to Object and select the back of the L. Confirm that the operation is set to join, which it should be automatically, then press OK. Make a new sketch on the front plane. Press P to project and select this node on the tip of the X. Then go to Create, Text. Drag out a rectangle as shown that stops before the tip of the X. Type design in the text box and change the height to 8. Make sure your font hasn't changed and play with the flip controls till it looks right. Align the text to the right and then confirm. Add a horizontal constraint to the top line of the text box. Add the dimensions as shown, 4mm vertically to the top of the box, 6mm horizontally, and make the box 8x44mm. You'll probably notice that all the sketch lines will turn black. This means the sketch is fully constrained, which is best practice in CAD. But if you like to live life on the edge and don't want to fully constrain, I won't stop you renegade. Press E to extrude the letters, and make the end type to the front of the LX body, then confirm. Lastly, press F or go to Modify, then Fillet to create some rounded edges on the lettering. Select all the front faces of the letters and make the dimension 0.25mm, then confirm. The fillets will make the rendered reflections look much better. Now choose a material for your model by right-clicking on the top of your parts tree, then hitting Physical Material. You can choose whatever you want here, but I'd suggest a shiny metal to create a nice reflective rendered image. Drag and drop the material on the top of your parts tree to apply it. And that's the design work done. Let's render this bad boy. You'll need to change the workspace by clicking Design and then Render. First things first, you'll need to set up your scene. I like to change the environment first to better visualize how the final render will look. Since the material is a monochromatic metal, I like a bit of color in the environment to add some visual interest, but you can choose whichever one you like. Choose a focal length that takes your fancy, play with the numbers to see what you reckon looks best. I'd suggest setting the aspect ratio to be the same as your intended final render. For this job, the 16:9 looks pretty good. You can play around with the brightness settings to find something you like. The position slider will rotate the environment around the model, and it can bring in some different reflections. There's no need for a ground plane since we're rendering with a transparent background, and no depth of field is necessary since we want everything in focus. Once you're happy with that, we can close the dialog box and get the model in position for rendering. When you're ready, click on the teapot.
Why not?
In the render settings, make sure the image size matches the aspect ratio you set before. Choose local render and open the advanced settings. Sliding it over to excellent won't increase render time too much since it's a relatively simple model. Activate this checkbox to make the background transparent. Now you can go ahead and click render. Check the thumbnail down here to check it out and save it for later. So you've made this nifty little render of a logo. What are you going to do with it now? Well, speaking for myself, I've used this technique to produce most of the graphical content for my website and YouTube videos. All the fancy text, the stripes and the logo were rendered in Fusion and were post-processed in Gimp, which is a free alternative to Photoshop. The background images are straight out of Fusion with some fade overlays from the WordPress website software. The Lannix 3D logo is from Fusion. I might redo that one actually. Michael Bay fans might recognise the Coming Soon font. And RSpec is one that I'm pretty happy with actually. Once again, it was rendered straight from Fusion. This sunrise effect and the title graphics for this video for that matter were created in Blender. The model we just made in Fusion was then exported to Blender and I played around with lighting and texture effects. I think I'll make a tutorial for that as well. It was pretty fun and Blender has a much better rendering engine than Fusion. Well, I hope you've gained some skills and or found some inspiration from this tutorial. Comment with any questions or suggestions and I'll try and help you out if I can. Stay tuned for the follow-up tutorial in Blender. Bye.